or security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Sunday, the 9th of November, and this is the weekend on GB News. And the country came to a stop today to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Here at Horse Guards Parade, 10,000 servicemen and veterans from over 340 different military and civilian associations took part in the march past the cenotaph.
Yes, a respectful service here in Belfast. Wreaths being led by ambassadors from right across the globe, from as far away as the United States and Brazil, and ministers from the Republic of Ireland playing their part too.
Well, here in Westminster, thousands of members of the public joined with the King to fall silent and then cheer on thousands of people marching past the cenotaph.
There was history made at last night's Festival of Remembrance as Prince George stood in for his father. Is this the beginning of the young royal's official duties? Royal commentator Sarah Louise Robertson will be joining us to discuss that story. And yeah, could British motorists be taxed for driving per mile in France? I'll be explaining more later in the show. And a really important story, ladies.
I'm so relieved to have had it removed and to know that it hasn't spread.
Yeah, and a really important story, ladies. TV presenter Davina McCall reveals she has undergone surgery for breast cancer. What signs do we need to look out for to ensure this terrible disease is caught early and, like Davina, hopefully stopped in its tracks? I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend. So thank you so much for your company on this very, very special Sunday. I hope you are having a good one, reflecting about what's gone on in the past and remembering those who have indeed given so much that we can sit here and have discussions about what is happening in the future. Because that's what I'd like to do today as well. Obviously remembering those that gave their all, but also thinking about where we're going. Is a positive look at it, the future looking good for you? How are you feeling about it? But also, I just want to see any pictures you've got of what you're doing today. Have you got any? We had a beautiful, beautiful dog on Camilla and Michael's show just now. Have you got any pictures you'd like to send in of what you're doing today? Poppies, they can be fun, they can be serious. Let's have a chat. It's a very important Sunday and I want your company, and it's really easy to get in touch at gbnews.com/yoursay. Join the conversation. Let's keep each other company. Let's share some memories and let's have some fun as well, though. But all of that after the news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Dawn. Good afternoon to you. 3 minutes past 1 here in the GB newsroom. The King has led the nation in a 2-minute silence to remember those who died in conflict. He was joined by other members of the royal family and senior politicians in laying wreaths to honour the fallen. The Queen and the Princess of Wales took their places on the Foreign Office balconies overlooking the cenotaph. Around 20 veterans who served in the Second World War were there. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, joined the King in laying wreaths at the monument. A number of former Prime Ministers were also in attendance. Some 10,000 Armed Forces veterans took part in the Royal British Legion March through Whitehall. Their Director of Remembrance, Philippa Rowlandson, says it's been a poignant day.
We've seen veterans come together, that comradeship that people have within the armed forces being renewed as people fall into their regiments. And this year being joined by about 20 World War II veterans. I know we were expecting 20, I'm not sure how many we had in the end, but it's wonderful to have both the E and VJ veterans at the front of the march and then other veterans leading their associations. So real richness as we saw 101-year-olds and 8-year-olds marching today, just showing how remembrance really unites us.
The BBC is expected to apologise for the way in which a speech by Donald Trump was edited in an episode of Panorama. The concerns regard clips spliced together from sections of the US President's speech on January the 6th, 2021, the day of the Capitol Hill riots. It's understood the BBC chairman, Samir Shah, will provide a full response to the Culture, Media and Sport Committee tomorrow. It's almost a week since The Telegraph reported that Michael Prescott, a former external advisor to the BBC's Editorial Standards Committee, raised concerns about misleading viewers over the summer. The Shadow Defence Secretary says David Lammy has questions to answer over whether he broke the ministerial code when being challenged about prisoner releases in the Commons. On Wednesday, James Cartledge pressed the Justice Secretary to confirm if any other asylum-seeking offenders had been wrongly freed since the case of Harish Kabatu. Well, Mr Lammy declined to provide details, despite being aware of another case. 4 incorrectly released prisoners, 2 of whom were freed last year, remain at large. When GB News asked James Cartledge how many more prisoners remain unaccounted for.
I don't know, because I asked the Justice Secretary. You think it's a reasonable thing to ask them. They do run the justice system, and he didn't make any attempt to answer whatsoever. And so I was very frustrated by that. I think the public were, judging by the messages I've received. I think what the statistics show is there's been, I think, 262 releases in error, as they call it in the statistics set, but basically accidentally let out of prison in the last year. But what worries me above all, there were 90 that were violent or sexual offenders. Now that is incredibly worrying for the public. So to quote David Lammy to me, he needs to get a grip.
The government set to launch an independent review into the rising levels of inactivity in young people. It's estimated the number of 16 to 24-year-old NEETs, those not in education, employment or training, has reached 940,000, with around a quarter of those blaming disability or long-term sickness. The Work and Pensions Secretary, Pat McFadden's, described it as a crisis of opportunity. The inquiry will be led by former Labour Health Secretary Alan Milburn. Senators in the United States have held a rare Saturday session in an effort to solve the record-breaking government shutdown. More than 1,400 flights to, from or within the US were cancelled on Saturday, with a further 6,000 delayed. Republicans have rejected an offer by Democrats to break the impasse in Congress over the current funding bill. It is the 40th day of the longest shutdown in history. And the Philippines is bracing for a super typhoon less than a week after more than 200 people were killed in a separate storm. Nearly 1 million people have been evacuated from parts of the country as the storm intensified recently. It's approaching the east of the country. It's caused power outages ahead of making landfall later. Heavy rain and flooding has been forecast. Well, Typhoon Kalmegi hit the Philippines and Vietnam on Tuesday, flattening homes, uprooting trees and knocking out power to millions. And more than 100 people are still missing, and rescue operations have been suspended. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with a short bulletin at 1:30.
Thank Thanks very much, Aaron, and thank you all for joining me on this Remembrance Sunday. I know it's a very important day for many of you, so I really appreciate your time here. And as I always say, this show is about you, so get those messages coming in. Also, any pictures of what you're doing today, how you're commemorating. Certainly any fun pictures, maybe if you've dressed your dog or your cat up in a poppy or something or other. Like this example, here's one we made earlier. This is our lovely producer Scarlett's dog with a lovely poppy on his collar there. So anything like that, come on, it's a day for remembering and being thankful for where we are today. But it does also mean we can have a little bit of a smile. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get in touch. Now, at 11 o'clock this morning, the country paused to remember those brave servicemen and women who laid down their lives for their country. Their Majesties, the King and Queen, were joined by every living Prime Minister and today's event at the Cenotaph. The Royal British Legion held its traditional march past at the Cenotaph today after the ceremony, and remembrance events have been taking place all across the country as we remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Joining us now from Parliament Square is GB News national reporter Will Godley. Will, what an amazing morning. What's happening there now? How are things?
Yeah, Dawn, an incredibly special time being here amongst the crowds, members of the public and veterans lining the streets here to share that 2-minute silence with the King, of course, other members of the royal family, Prime Ministers past and present, as well as wreaths were laid at the Cenotaph. And then more recently, members of the public here cheering and applauding veterans and current service personnel as they marched past us here. Well, now people are dispersing. People have mostly left, actually, Parliament here. But I am pleased to say I'm joined now by Lieutenant Colonel David Kemmis Betty. Been in the Army since 1987. How does it feel to be here today?
It's a very special day. I mean, I suppose I span from the Cold War days all through Northern Ireland, the Balkans, Iraq, invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, and right up to current day. It's a great day to sort of really have a pause and think about all of those who've gone before us. I would say I particularly think about those I knew in Iraq and Afghanistan who were killed or injured, but I also think back to the amazing generation of the First and Second World War. Very few of the Second World War veterans left now. I particularly think about my father and uncles who fought in the Second World War, and my grandfathers who fought in the First World War.
And I think there was about 20 Second World War veterans still here today, an ever smaller number each year as this goes on. The Remembrance Sunday, how important is it for the future generations to continue this tradition?
I think it's really important to reflect and look back on history and think about the sacrifice of the previous generations. I think we are sort of standing on the shoulders of giants of the people who've gone before us, and really important for the current generation to think about warfare and think about how horrendous it really was and what that means for us as a country today. I mean, we, the British Army particularly, are modernising and trying to rebuild our warfighting capability so that we are a credible deterrent against the current threat. Having to think about the business of going to war as a nation, you need to learn from history, and I think that's really important.
And to have the King leading that 2 minutes silence as the nation remembers the sacrifice made for people in the army and other armed forces, how important is that to have the monarch leading that 2 minute silence?
It's very important, and I have a sort of personal connection in that the King was the colonel of the regiment of my regiment, the Black Watch, our Royal Colonel, and now I'm in the Royal Regiment of Scotland. He is likewise our Royal Colonel. which makes it really special. And members of the armed forces have a really close bond with the royal family because they've served in the armed forces. I think that's really important that carries on today. And my father, he was in the 2nd Gurkhas. He likewise, Prince Charles then and now the King was his royal colonel, and they got to know each other quite well. My father served in Malaya, and he fought a number of delay battles down the Malaya Peninsula from the Thai border all the way to Singapore, and then ended up in Changi Jail in Singapore for 3.5 years, and wrote a fascinating diary of his times there, which gave a real insight into what prison life was like, and he ended up looking after a whole load of gardens, about 20-30 acres of gardens with a whole load of other prisoners, providing food for the prison population there, all the POWs, and I think probably did a significant amount to keep a number of those people alive and supplement their diet and that sort of thing.
And he was serving, obviously, in Asia during the Second World War. Likewise, a number of other Commonwealth countries now, and we're remembering their sacrifice as well today, aren't we? How important was Britain's allies in the wars past and in years since the Second World War?
Incredibly important, and I think it's worth reflecting on the fact that, around the world, and particularly in the Asia context, there were, Gurkhas and Indian soldiers, both Muslim and Hindu and Sikh, who played a huge part in the battles, particularly in Burma and Malaya. And, it's important that we remember them as well today, and they're very much part of our history.
And David, in your role currently as policy advisor in the British Army, you're talking about how the army is modernising, but today, as part of the 2-minute silence, people here encouraged to pray for peace. Part of the modernisation, also hoping we never have to use that power and that might in conflict going forward.
Sure, no. I think it's really important to understand the nature of conflict and the fact that it is really brutal, and we can see from current experience in places like Ukraine and Gaza, how brutal it can be. To learn those lessons from the past, and the way to stop it happening again is to build a credible deterrence. We have to be a proper warfighting nation capable of defeating our enemies, and we're doing that with NATO, as part of NATO, and we need to rebuild our capability after quite a lot of disinvestment over the last sort of 25-30 years since the end of the Cold War. It's really important that we do that.
Lieutenant Colonel David Kemmis-Betty, thanks for joining us on GB News. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Dawn, an amazing morning here as the country came together as the King led that 2-minute silence here at the Cenotaph.
Indeed, thank you very much, Will Godley, there live in Westminster Forest. Thank you very much. OK, I just want to remind people that obviously Remembrance Day in the UK is very important, but reflecting on Will's interview there, Remembrance Day is also a moment of reflection across 56 Commonwealth nations, and there were 2.5 million Indian soldiers who volunteered in the Second World War. So we must never forget all of these people that helped, that did their bit. OK, joining us now from Belfast is GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, it's been very emotional in London today. How's it been in Northern Ireland?
Well, exactly the same, Dawn. It has been so respectful as well. And if you were lucky enough to tune in at 12:30 there, I managed to speak to a Sergeant Major John Ross, who was in charge of 3 para during the bloodiest battle in the Falklands conflict. And some of the things he was telling me about them having to march across an open minefield, try and take the Argentinians out of their positions on that mountain, and young men of 17 and 18 years of age dying in his arms, some of them, and him having to go on. It was also the last time the British Army ever gave out the order to fix bayonets. It shows you how close exactly that fighting must have been. And those young men didn't flinch. They kept going forward and didn't think twice about it. Their training and their real honour and bravery coming into that, and you can just see here inscribed on the cenotaph here in Belfast, faithful unto death, they are remembered with pride and gratitude, and they certainly have done. I mean, you just look at some of these wreaths here that's been laid. Now that most people have gone on to dinners or teas here, you know, there's wreaths from the fire service, many different battalions and regiments. There's even one from Brazil, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, the RUC, of course, which came under serious fire by the IRA. There is the First Minister, who is actually the head of Sinn Féin in Northern Ireland, which is the political wing of the IRA, has actually led a wreath here. That is a real big development, I suppose. And then, of course, there is the Americans. They have also led a wreath here, because many of our forces, of course, fought alongside the Americans. Many of them fought, as you have said, amongst other Commonwealth countries, including the Australians and the Indian regiments that were during the First and Second World Wars. So a really good and respectful Remembrance Day here in Northern Ireland.
Wonderful, thank you very much. That's Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie there. Thank you very much. Just want to read one message out quickly. This is from Sheila. Sheila says, church was really lovely today. We remembered those who gave their lives to protect us and had my own minute silence. The priest spoke about grief. He said, we grieve because we love. If we didn't love, we wouldn't grieve. But without love, what do we have? Oh, my God, really powerful. Sheila, thank you so much for that message. Oh, my God, this is ridiculous. Do keep them coming in. OK, now let's cheer ourselves up, shall we? It is 20 minutes past 1 on Sunday, the 9th of November, Remembrance Sunday. Obviously, I'm thinking of my granddad. Stop it. Now, it is never too early to think about Christmas, though, the festive season. And how would you like to have your Christmas on us this year? That's right, £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams. And it's very easy to win it. Here's how you need to do it.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts, the tree, the trimmings, everything you might need for a fantastic festive day. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. It'll be here before you know it. It really is already, you know, November, December is just around the corner. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show. We'll be going live to our national reporter, Jack Carson, who will be joined by some very special guests indeed. You really don't want to miss it. I'm probably going to cry again, but I apologise in advance. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Oh, thank you so much for your messages. That's really sweet of you. Because I get a bit sniffly when I'm thinking about this sort of thing. Andrew says, it's OK, Dawn, you're allowed to be human. I wouldn't go that far, Andrew, but thank you. I really do appreciate it. And Isabel says, Dawn, you're not ridiculous. You cry all you want. Lots of us are. Keep them coming in. gbnews.com/your say. Right, I'm going to woman up now, shall I? OK, welcome back to the weekend. I am in Dawn Neeson, slightly moist in the eyes at the moment. Now, as the country pauses in tribute to our armed forces, it is important to acknowledge the charities that revolve around the armed forces themselves. One of them, I've been reading about this morning, it's really, really, really amazing, is Scotty's Little Soldiers, who support bereaved military children. Joining us now from Horse Guards Parade is GB News national reporter Jack Carson, who is joined by two very, very special guests. Jack.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Well, of course, as you were mentioning, it's not just those military associations as well, it's those civilian. 341 of them in total have been here on Horse Guards today, taking part in, of course, that Royal British Legion march past the cenotaph. And as you were mentioning, Scotty's Little Soldiers join us now. Nikki Scott, of course, founder of the charity, and also Abigail as well. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Nikki, I'll come to you first. Bringing 100 people, as you have done here today, and taking part in this march past the cenotaph, I mean, how important is it? How much does a day like this mean?
It means everything, I think, to bereaved military families, like to have the opportunity to take part in something like this and see the public support you, and actually just to be back around the military community again is really, really special for bereaved military families.
And Abigail, you're proudly wearing your dad's medals today. Tell us a little bit about your dad.
He was so supportive of everything me and my siblings do. He's one of the nicest people. Obviously, he was a doctor in the army, so he cared about everybody that he came into contact with.
And of course, your dad was Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Haldane, as you were saying, in the medical regiment. I mean, what has today been like? Of course, you've been remembering him today. What has your experience been like today?
It's been amazing. It's such a lovely opportunity to honour my dad, and for all of the military children here to honour their loved ones.
And how have the charity helped you? I mean, I guess they are so much, of a support network for yourself.
Yeah, they've provided me with so many opportunities with grants such as driving and going to Borneo to volunteer, as well as the Christmas parties and other events during the year where it's amazing to see other people my age who've gone through similar stuff.
And Nikki, just tell us about some of the work that you do as a charity, because you say there's 100 people you've brought today, but there's thousands, across the country that you support every day.
Yeah, we're supporting over 760 now, children, young people, all under the age of 25. And so whether their parent was killed, it doesn't matter how, accident, illness, suicide, whether they were a veteran or serving, they can all be part of the community at Scotty's because their parent did serve our country. And it's just, the support we offer is very much it's about the families, they pick and choose what they want to be a part of. There's no pressure to be a part of anything. And it's about making sure that they feel part of the community, they're not being forgotten, and people are still remembering them. So whether that's group events like Abby was talking about and meeting others, or whether it's receiving a gift or a voucher at tough times of the year to know you've not been forgotten, or whether it's one-to-one bereavement counselling, there's a whole range of support that we can offer these young people.
And tell us the story behind the scarves, these really lovely yellow and black scarves. They stood out fantastically, as of course you gave the salute to the Duke of Edinburgh this afternoon. So tell us the story behind those.
Oh, they stand out a mile. So these are the colours. So my husband, Corporal Lee Scott, served with the 2nd Royal Tank Regiment, and these are like a tribute to that regiment, really. So they were the colours. So yeah, they are our charity colours because of that, and we wear the scarves. Originally, back in 2019, it was about, so we were like, how are we going to keep together all these children and young people and see them easily in the crowds? And now, actually, as soon as the families put them on, it was like a team. I'm part of a community. We've got this. We're here for each other. And now the public recognise them and they call out to us on the parade, and it just makes the children feel like people really do care. So they are now super special to, I think, everyone in the community.
And Abigail, what does Remembrance mean to you? I suppose it's such a personal connection for yourself.
It's so important to me. It's the atmosphere here where everybody supports each other. It's like amazing.
I suppose, Nikki, you are here joined with so many other people, so many other veterans who would have served alongside, so many of the people and the families that you are supporting yourself. So I suppose, is a day like today also so much of a reunion and I suppose, showing how much of a family really the military is?
Yeah, I think so. We get a lot of veterans and serving personnel come over to meet the children and say, like, I served with your dad, and they've lost connections, or just, yeah, it really does. Because when you're a bereaved family, a lot of families, not all of them, but will be living in the garrison or on camp, and then when you experience the death of someone, you move out of that and back to another part of the country. So you, as well as losing your loved one, you're losing your whole military community. So to come back to something like this and be surrounded by the guys and girls, yeah, it's really special. And it is, like Abby said, it's about honouring all the people that we've lost, and also reminding everyone that we're here and that we're together and we can help each other.
And I suppose with conflicts like Afghanistan, Iraq, they are so recent, and while this year has been so poignant for being the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, this is something which families are still struggling with and families which you're still supporting.
100%, and that's kind of what we say, like, our history of our country is so important, but actually it is still affecting young people today. We've still got tiny young children coming through to Scottish Little Soldiers, and it's about helping to show the public, and especially the younger generation, in schools and just watching. It's still conflicts and military deaths still affect young people today just as much as it always has. So it's really about reminding people that it affects everyone, and just learning about it in schools and being mindful that you might have someone in your class that is actually affected by a military bereavement. So just to look after them.
And what's your message, Abigail, to those who haven't yet reached out? Given obviously what you've been able to experience through the charity, what's your message to those who are thinking about reaching out for support?
I think you should always reach out for support because everybody's welcoming, everybody wants to help.
Nikki, Abigail, thank you so much for staying behind and joining us. Of course, Scottish Little Soldiers there who took part on the March Past the Cenotaph today. Of course, they are one of 341 associations that have been here taking part. Some of the 10,000, you heard 100 of them making up some of the 10,000 that marched past the Cenotaph today. Of course, you just heard there how much of a wonderful charity they are, Dawn, and both now and in the years to come, of course, they will still support those families who, of course, have lost loved ones in those most recent conflicts over the past decade or two.
Jack, thank you very much. That's Jack Carson there with the amazing Nikki Scott, who is the founder of Scotty's Little Soldiers. And if you would like to get in touch, by the way, it's at scottieslittle-soldiers.co.uk. They've got a brilliant website, tells you all about the charity, how you can get involved, and certainly, obviously, if you need to support yourself, that's the way to do it. scottieslittle-soldiers.co.uk. Thank you very much, Jack. Lovely interview there. Now, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. There's plenty more coming up on today's show. But first, it's time for the news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Dawn. Good afternoon to you. Just after 1:30, our headlines. The King has led the nation in a 2-minute silence during a Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph. The Prince of Wales, Sir Keir Starmer, and the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch joined King Charles in laying wreaths at the monument. 3 D-Day veterans were amongst those attending the ceremony in Whitehall. The BBC is expected to apologise for the way in which a speech by Donald Trump was edited in an episode of Panorama. It's after a leaked internal memo said the corporation misled viewers by splicing together separate sections of a speech by the US president in the lead-up to the Capitol Hill riot. The government is set to launch an independent review into the rising number of young people, who aren't working or studying. It's estimated the number of 16 to 24-year-old NEETs, those not in education, employment or training, has reached 940,000, with around a quarter of those blaming disability or long-term sickness. Senators in the United States have held a rare Saturday session in an effort to solve the record-breaking government shutdown. More than 1,400 flights to, from or within the US were cancelled on Saturday. A further 6,000 were delayed. And almost 1 million people have been evacuated as the Philippines braces for Typhoon Fenghuang, which is making landfall later. The storm, which will bring sustained winds of around 115 miles per hour, has been upgraded to a super typhoon. Those are your headlines. A full bulletin coming up for you at 2 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Anne. And remember, please do let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today. And so many of you getting in touch about your memories of loved ones, what you're doing today, who you're thinking about today. Keep them coming in at gbnews.com/yoursay. You might make me cry a little bit, but I guess today that's allowed, isn't it? In any case, let's join in the conversation. Let's keep one another company. There's plenty more coming up on today's show as well. We were talking about youngsters being brave earlier on. Well, Prince George steps into his father's shoes at the Festival of Remembrance. He's 12 years old. Is this the start of his public duties? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We have rain slowly pushing eastwards through the day today. There'll be some bright skies either side, some fog as well, but generally the next few days the low pressure is going to become dominant. We'll see outbreaks of rain, stronger winds pushing in from the Atlantic as we move through the week ahead. But here's the rain by lunchtime across western parts of England and Wales, stretching up into northeast England, eastern Scotland. The rain pushing only slowly north and eastward, so not really going anywhere very quickly. Brighter skies either side of this with some sunny spells, quite blustery around some western coasts. The wind's coming in from the south, so another mild day for everyone, 12 to 15 Celsius. And then into the evening time, the rain continues to push north and eastwards. There's still the risk of some heavy rain across southern parts of England and Wales, particularly South Wales, where there could be some localised flooding. But brighter skies, drier skies across Northern Ireland into western Scotland with some clear spells here and a few showers, but the rain stretching up into Orkney and Shetland into the evening time. Temperatures just starting to dip into single figures where there is some chillier air across northern parts of Scotland. Further outbreaks of rain pushing north and eastwards as we go through this evening and overnight. Bands coming in from the Atlantic as well. So a fairly unsettled night to come. Some of the rain could be heavy at times, but in between there will be some drier periods, and the winds coming in from the south and still fairly brisk. So temperatures remaining in double figures across much of England and Wales, but dipping into single figures across northwest Scotland. An unsettled start to Monday. Bands of showers pushing north and eastwards. Some of this will be heavy at times, some gusty winds, but in between there will be some sunny spells. So it's worth having the raincoat with you as you go through the day today, turning particularly showery across England and Wales into the afternoon. A little cooler, temperatures around 14 Celsius.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson, and the person who's just got in touch about losing their friend in the Falkland Islands at 17 years old. I have no words. In any case, keep them coming in. We are here to chat together and keep one another company. Now, back to last night. I don't know if you watched this. The Festival of Remembrance took place yesterday in the Royal Albert Hall, and there was a little bit of history. 12-year-old Prince George stood in for his dad, marking the first time the young prince has attended the annual Remembrance Festival. He was joined by his mother, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and his grandfather, obviously King Charles, and Queen Camilla. So it's the beginning of Prince George's very public duties. He's 12 years old. Joining me now is royal reporter Sarah Louise Robertson. Sarah Louise, really good to see you. I mean, obviously the festival from the Royal Albert Hall was amazing last night. It was an amazing spectacle. But he was a little star, wasn't he? I'm not, ooh, I love the royals, but he did well for a 12-year-old.
Indeed, Dawn. It was remarkable, actually, and it was lovely to see Prince George take his place alongside his mother and his grandfather, the King, and step-grandmother, Queen Camilla. And it was a very special debut for him. As you've said, it's his first time we've seen him at something of such importance. It was the memorial concert for the Royal British Legion. And this was George's big debut. And I think he handled himself remarkably well. It was a solemn occasion, but there was really touching moments throughout, a very emotional and poignant affair all the way through. And Prince George really held his own in such a serious occasion. And for a little boy, I think he showed great maturity and great poise. And you could sort of see his father's genes coming through in him, because Prince William, the Prince of Wales, has that sincerity and warmth, and it's already showing in his son, his eldest son, Prince George now. And you could tell George really wanted to make a good impression, and he was taking it all very seriously, joining in with singing the national anthem to his grandfather. And I've, watching with such intensity what was going on down below him and taking it all in, this scene. And it must be a lot for him, thinking one day he is going to be in his grandfather's place and he is going to be leading those sort of commemorations and special occasions. It will be him that will be leading front and forward. So it is a lot to be put on a young person's shoulders, but I think he's showing great maturity and, as I say, poise for a young man and a real king in the making, Dawn.
I think it's incredible. Obviously, his dad wasn't there because he's still at the COP30 climate summit change. So Catherine was there. I mean, I don't think she even held his hand walking in, did she? I mean, it was like literally, you are now a young man. You were born to this role. And, I know people will go, oh, they're spoiled. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to pay bills. But it's almost like a gilded cage they're born in, isn't it? Because it's like he has no choice. He has to do this.
Well, yes. I mean, it's his bloodline. He's been born into the British royal family, and it's an incredible duty that he's been given. And he's been, he is a king in training, so to speak. So this is the start of them and this is very gently done, I have to say. They are aware he is still a young boy. They're not throwing him into everything and saying, you have to behave like a grown-up straight away. But it's just that sort of soft launch, gently guiding him. And we don't have the late Queen anymore from which to learn from. And while he still has his grandfather, King Charles, this is a wonderful opportunity for him to be shown the ropes and see how to perform, how it goes, how it works. So it is a soft launch, and he's obviously going to learn to get used to shaking people's hands, other dignitaries from other countries, how to converse with adults, all of these things. So I think they're doing it in a very gentle way, but being respectful, obviously, to his age. And well, also what a wonderful guide he has in his mother, the Princess of Wales. He idolizes his mum, and Princess Catherine looked remarkable last night. She was really enjoying herself. She loved Hannah Waddingham. I saw her lean over to the king and whisper in his ear how brilliant Hannah was. And so, yeah, he's seeing how the ropes are by obviously watching them and learning from them. And I just think he's doing a wonderful job. And it is a lot on a young person's shoulders. But yes, the best people with which to learn from.
It's Sarah Louise. When it's been a very difficult few weeks for the royal family, obviously with the whole Andrew saga, this is a nice positive vibe about going forward and sort of like, it's going to be a slimmed down monarchy. We know that, but this is it's a good vibe for the future, isn't it?
Absolutely. What we saw last night and what we've seen today in those very moving scenes from the cenotaph earlier this morning is what the British monarchy looks like going forward in the 21st century. Yes, it is slimmed down. We obviously noticed Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, was missing today. Her and her husband, they're doing their military tour of Australia. So they are carrying out their military duties, their royal duties down under, because obviously Australia is still part of our Commonwealth, our great Commonwealth. But what we're seeing now is this is the royal family going forward, the nucleus of it. And standing out is the future of the royal family, which is the Prince and Princess of Wales, Prince William and Prince Catherine, with their 3 children, and they are our future, and the spotlight is really starting to go on them now, and that's showing the public, and it's showing around the world what the British royal family is. It's modern, it's outward looking, it's inclusive, it's young, it's fresh, it's vibrant. They have their fingers on the pulse. I think it's very clever what they're doing. We've had a monarchy for over 1,000 years, Dawn. It's survived everything. It will keep going, and it will just adapt. It will move with the times, and that's what it's doing, and it will evolve, and that's what we're seeing now. And this is the royal family now going forward. And the dark side of things, which we've seen, it's been pushed now away into the shadows. It's gone. We don't mention that person's name now going forward. We concentrate on what we have in front of us, and that's what they're doing.
Sarah Louise, I love that positive vibe on Remembrance Sunday. Thank you very much.
Always.
That's royal reporter Sarah Louise Robertson. Thank you very much for joining us today. OK, I'm Dawn News from this is GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show. Brit Lando Norris is on pole position at today's Brazilian Grand Prix. There he is, absolutely. Wow, that's an amazing helmet. I'll be joined by Aidan McGee with all the details of all the sport you need. But if you are in search of some holiday sun, it's not too bad today, though, is it? Here's a forecast for some of those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Not much sunshine across the central and eastern Mediterranean. Heavy showers and thunderstorms expected here. But elsewhere across northern Europe, mostly dry, settled with some sunshine. Though we are expecting some showers on Monday across parts of Portugal, also northern areas of France. These could turn heavy at times. And as we drift away eastwards across the Mediterranean, turning more and more unsettled, some heavy showers and thunderstorms here. Into next week, we should see more sunshine, and alongside the sun, there should be some warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. Now, it's my favourite part of the weekend. We're going to talk about sport, and we might even mention the clash of the Claret and Blue Titans. Well, no, we won't, because no one cares really, do they? But Aidan McGee is here to talk about all the really interesting football and other stuff. Aidan.
Yes, good afternoon, Dawn. Look, one place to start, Man City versus Liverpool this afternoon. I think it's pivotal for a number of reasons. We saw Arsenal go to Sunderland yesterday. We were talking about them not just going there with a 10-match unbeaten run, but they've been winning. They're winning every single game. And everyone was talking about, like, it's a procession now towards the title. It's their time. 22 years since the Invincibles won it in 2004. I know. But, I mean, think back to 2004 and that all-conquering Arsene Wenger side. If you'd said to anyone then, they're not going to win another title until 2026. Or, well, it's not. They've not even won it yet. Then you'd have said that was barking mad, wouldn't you? So, anyway, they got a draw at Sunderland yesterday, conceded a goal late on. Suddenly, the door slightly opens for Liverpool and Manchester City. If Manchester City wins today against Liverpool, then they cut the deficit to 4 points. Chelsea is still in there. Sunderland, who got a result at Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, a match I was at, and got a draw against Arsenal yesterday, they're still in the mix. Bournemouth's still in the mix as well against Aston Villa. And we want competition because Liverpool, they looked great in the early part of the season. They were scoring goals late on, and they haven't followed it through since then. And they spent, what, £475 million in the summer, the record for one window. So both sides have plenty to play for when it kicks off today, and one of them needs to get a result, even if that means effectively knocking the other one out of the title race, because even if Liverpool win, they can cut the deficit to about 6 points, I think it is.
I was just looking at the top of the...
But a draw does nothing for either. Pep Guardiola has a milestone to celebrate, his 1,000th match as a manager, going back to 2008, and that's including some matches for Barcelona B as well. He's won, I think, 12 league titles, 14 cups, 3 Champions Leagues. He's almost done it all. So where does he find the hunger to keep on going? Well, today there's huge incentive because that will, well, they can cut the deficit from Arsenal, and it's all to play for. They've still got to play each other at the Etihad, and if Liverpool win, well, you know, if they don't win, I think there's going to be serious questions to answer for.
How wonderful is it to have teams like Sunderland and Bournemouth up there?
Well, it is because
really
Bournemouth,
shaking it up.
Bournemouth have been decent for a couple of seasons now, but Sunderland, what happens to the sides that come up? They just go down.
Yeah, normally.
That's the last two seasons. All 3 sides that have come up have gone straight back down. That's the first time that happened since 1998, when Bolton, Barnsley and Crystal Palace went down in the Premier League as it was back then. We never saw it happen again. Normally, at least one stays up, often 2. There have even been occasions when all 3 have stayed up. So it's great to see them there.
Yeah, brilliant.
And yeah, OK, you can say, well, you know, it's still early, but we're coming up to the second week of November now, and Sunderland is still in there. So you have to give them credit. I remember when Leicester won the league. Do you remember when we got to about December? Yeah. We got to about December and thought, yeah, they should have enough points to avoid relegation now. At what point do we actually consider them to be title contenders? And of course, they picked up the ball, they ran away with it, and they never got caught. It was fantastic.
No, a relegation on 42 points, not mentioning that particular
2003.
subject. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Crystal Palace went down on 49 points in 1993.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
But that was a 22-team league.
Yeah, there's always someone worse off, but thanks for mentioning that one. OK, what else we got to talk about?
I just want to mention the Grand Prix, just because Lando Norris doesn't get anywhere near as much credit as he deserves, actually. He is coming into form with 4 races to go after today in the Brazilian Grand Prix. I did mention this morning, actually. It'd be interesting to see how many people from COP 30 are going to be at the Grand Prix.
Well, I mean, it's very, how convenient.
Cars on the track there, or diesel or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but,
I'm going to keep a close eye on that lot.
Yeah, you should do, actually, you should. But look, there's 4 races to go after today. Lando Norris is peaking just at the right time. He's top of the Drivers' Championship. He won the sprint race yesterday. He backed that up yesterday with after that with a qualifying victory. And look, he's only a slither of a lead ahead of his teammate, McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri. But as I say, if he can keep his nerve, that'd be wonderful, because everyone was talking at the start of the season, weren't they? Lewis Hamilton in the red of Ferrari.
Yeah.
He's going to do it. He's going to show the last 4 years were an aberration. Well, it doesn't work like that, because if you've been out of the game for that long, or not been a front runner, then you can't just step back into it at the age of 40, 41 or whatever he is. And if we see Lando Norris take that title, he deserves all the credit.
Aidan McGee, thank you very much. A joy as always. I'm Dawn Neeson, this GB News. Loads more coming up on today's show. We're going back to the Cenotaph, continue that amazing coverage. But first, it is time for the weather. Fingers crossed it's good.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We have rain slowly pushing eastwards through the day today. There'll be some bright skies either side, some fog as well, but generally the next few days the low pressure is going to become dominant. We'll see outbreaks of rain, stronger winds pushing in from the Atlantic as we move through the week ahead. But here's the rain by lunchtime across western parts of England and Wales, stretching up into northeast England, eastern Scotland. The rain pushing only slowly north and eastward, so not really going anywhere very quickly. Brighter skies either side of this with some sunny spells, quite blustery around some western coasts. The wind's coming in from the south, so another mild day for everyone, 12 to 15 Celsius. And then into the evening time, the rain continues to push north and eastwards. There's still the risk of some heavy rain across southern parts of England and Wales, particularly South Wales, where there could be some localised flooding. But brighter skies, drier skies across Northern Ireland into western Scotland with some clear spells here and a few showers, but the rain stretching up into Orkney and Shetland into the evening time. Temperatures just starting to dip into single figures, where there is some chillier air across northern parts of Scotland. Further outbreaks of rain pushing north and eastwards as we go through this evening and overnight. Bands coming in from the Atlantic as well. So a fairly unsettled night to come. Some of the rain could be heavy at times, but in between there will be some drier periods, and the winds coming in from the south and still fairly brisk, so temperatures remaining in double figures across much of England and Wales, but dipping into single figures across northwest Scotland. An unsettled start to Monday, bands of showers pushing north and eastwards. Some of this will be heavy at times, some gusty winds, but in between there will be some sunny spells. So it's worth having the raincoat with you as you go through the day today, turning particularly showery across England and Wales into the afternoon. A little cooler, temperatures around 14 Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 9th of November, and this is the weekend on GB News. And a really important Sunday, so thank you so much for your company. Now, the country came to a stop today to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Here in Whitehall and on Horse Guards Parade, 10,000 veterans and armed service personnel took part in the march past the cenotaph.
A respectful and dignified commemorations right across Northern Ireland. People came from all over the world to lay wreaths to remember those that gave their all.
We are talking about other stories as well, including could British motorists be taxed for driving per mile in France by the British government? I'll be explaining more later about that one.
I'm so relieved to have had it removed and to know that it hasn't spread.
And another hugely important story. TV presenter Davina McCall reveals she has undergone surgery for breast cancer. And ladies and men, it affects men as well, let's not forget. What signs do we need to look out for to ensure this terrible disease is caught early? Because that's how we battle it. I'm Dawn Neeson and this is The Weekend. So thank you so much for your company on this really important Sunday, Remembrance Sunday. And this show is, as always, all about you, but even more so today because I don't know about you, but I've been thinking about my granddad who served in France and what my nan went through, and my mum who was a little girl during the war, what they went through, left here during the Blitz. So many stories, and I'm loving the stories you're sending in, and of course some more recent conflicts as well. So let's keep one another company, shall we, and remember those who have given so much for us. gbnews.com/your say, and obviously I will read as many out as I possibly can, because I think it's important in particular today. But before we get into the rest of the show, let's get the news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Dawn. 2 minutes past 2. Very good afternoon to you. Our headlines. The King led the nation earlier in a 2-minute silence to remember those who died in conflict. He was joined by other members of the royal family and senior politicians in laying wreaths to honour the fallen. The King and the Princess of Wales took their places on the Foreign Office balconies overlooking the cenotaph. Some 20 veterans who served in the Second World War were present. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, joined the King in laying wreaths at the monument. A number of former Prime Ministers were also in attendance. Some 10,000 Armed Forces veterans took part in the Royal British Legion's march through Whitehall. Their Director of Remembrance, Philippa Rowlandson, says it's been a poignant day.
We've seen veterans come together, that comradeship that people have within the armed forces being renewed as people fall into their regiments, and this year being joined by about 20 World War II veterans. I know we were expecting 20, I'm not sure how many we had in the end, but it's wonderful to have both the E and VJ veterans at the front of the march and then other veterans leading their associations. So real richness as we saw 101-year-olds and 8-year-olds marching today, just showing how remembrance really unites us.
Well, Armed Forces veterans have expressed concern about the number of migrant arrivals on what they've called a sacred day of remembrance. The Border Force have been responding to multiple small boat arrivals into UK waters this morning. GB News can reveal more than 2,000 asylum seekers have now made the illegal crossing since Thursday. The BBC is expected to apologise for the way in which a speech by President Trump was edited in an episode of Panorama. The concerns regard clips spliced together from sections of the US President's speech on January the 6th, 2021, the day of the Capitol Hill riots. It's understood the corporation's chairperson, Samir Shah, will provide a full response to the Culture, Media and Sport Committee on Monday. It is almost a week since The Telegraph reported that Michael Prescott, a former external advisor to the BBC's Editorial Standards Committee, raised concerns about misleading viewers over the summer. The Shadow Defence Secretary says David Lammy has questions to answer over whether he broke the ministerial code when challenged about prisoner releases in the Commons. On Wednesday, James Cartledge pressed the Justice Secretary to confirm if any other asylum-seeking offenders had been wrongly freed since the case of Hadush Kibatu. Mr Lammy declined to answer, despite being aware of another case. 4 incorrectly released prisoners, 2 of whom were freed last year, remain at large. James Cartledge says Mr Lammy's performance was extraordinary.
There's a big question about the ministerial code. As a minister, David Lammy is duty-bound to be transparent with Parliament. And had I known that when I was asking those questions, he apparently had a statement about that issue at hand and he chose not to give any answers at all, I find that extraordinary. So there are big questions for him to answer. We then requested to him to come back to Parliament later in the day. I don't know if you saw this, I did a point of order, colleagues did points of order. He needed to come back and clarify and he refused to do so. He did a runner and that's not acceptable.
The government set to launch an independent review into rising levels of inactivity in young people. It's estimated the number of 16 to 24-year-old NEETs, those not in education, employment or training, has reached 940,000, with around a quarter blaming disability or long-term sickness. The inquiry will be led by the former Labour Health Secretary, Alan Milburn. Senators in the United States have held a rare Saturday session in an effort to solve the record-breaking government shutdown. More than 1,400 flights to, from or within the US were cancelled on Saturday, with a further 6,000 delayed amid a shortage of air traffic controllers. Republicans have rejected an offer by Democrats to break the impasse in Congress over the current funding bill. It is the 40th day of the longest shutdown in history. The Philippines is bracing for a super typhoon less than a week after more than 200 people were killed in a separate storm. Almost 1 million people have been evacuated as the storm has intensified. It's approaching the east of the country. It's caused power outages and will likely make landfall later today with heavy rain and flooding forecast. Typhoon Kalmegi hit the Philippines and Vietnam on Tuesday, knocking out power to millions of people. More than 100 are still missing. Finally, Kim Kardashian's dream of emulating her late father by becoming a lawyer has suffered a setback after she failed the bar exam. She's been studying through an apprentice program in California for the last 6 years. Her father, Robert Kardashian, was a prominent attorney representing O.J. Simpson during his highly publicised murder trial. Well, Kim, who's vowed to keep trying, says, "I'm not a lawyer yet. I just play a very well-dressed one on TV." Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 2:30.
Thank you very much, Erin, and thank you all for joining us on Remembrance Sunday. I just want to read this quick message out from Norfolk Skies. Hello. And talking of remembering those who went and sacrificed their all for us. You say, "I have postcards sent home from my great-grandfather from World War I to his wife and 2 sons. Very touching words. I also have his elder sons, my granddad's World War II medals." Do keep them coming. I'm going to read as many as I can out because I think it's so important. While we still have living history to talk to as well, I think it's important we all talk about this and take that message forward. OK, now, at 11 o'clock, obviously, this morning the country did pause to remember. Their Majesties the King and Queen were joined by every living Prime Minister and today's event at the Cenotaph. Joining us now from Horse Guards Parade is GB News national reporter Jack Carson. Jack.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dawn. Yeah, thank you, Dawn. It's been such a fantastic day here at Horse Guards Parade. 10,000 people taking part in that Royal British Legion march past Cenotaph, and 2 of those who took part and join us now, Carla and Tom Cuthbertson, both MBEs, I should say, as well. So congratulations. Just give us a sense. Tell us your story about today and why you've wanted to be here.
We just came today because we just want to support not just our son but all the fallen of not just the Second World War and the First World War but every conflict since then, and not just the people who's fallen in conflict but also the people that's got PTSD and, you know, took their own lives after that as well. So we're here to just represent everybody, so not just my own son but everybody that is served for the armed forces.
Yeah, you lost your son Nathan in Afghanistan at the age of 19, so tell us a little bit about him. What was he like? If he served in Afghanistan?
Yeah, he was 19 obviously when he was killed, but he was a lovely, happy-go-lucky lad, very fit, athletic. His first tour away with 2 para. And sadly he was killed alongside his 2 other comrades, you know, who were also young, you know, like himself.
And what did it mean for you today? Because we know you've laid a wreath at the Cenotaph, so not only marching past the Cenotaph, you laid a wreath there with a picture of your son Nathan in the centre of that wreath. Tell us what that means.
It was really, we do it in Sunderland every year because we've got the biggest big Armed Forces Memorial Wall outside of Sunderland, outside of London. So we attend that every year, and SAFA invited us again this year, and we've always put Sunderland first, as you do, because you represent your city that you come from. And we just thought, right, we're going to do it in a day, and it was just amazing of the turnout that was there and everybody taking part, and just laying that at London at the Cenotaph was just, you know, just nice and a bit tearful, but you know, we do it for not just our son but everybody else.
Yeah, we actually came down for the Festival of Remembrance yesterday at the Royal Albert Hall. So we actually went there last night, and then obviously today's been like the pinnacle, if you like, of of showing our respects to the fallen. So it's been a great humbling experience coming here and being able to visit the cenotaph and to see, to pay homage really to all the fallen.
And this is the thing, obviously you've been here representing your son Nathan, you say you were invited by Safa, but I think what's probably amazing is 10,000 other people here, many of them Afghanistan veterans, who would have served in the same places as your son. I guess, do you feel that connection, coming here and being around with those other veterans, do you feel that connection?
Yeah, we do. We've got quite a lot. We've stayed in quite a lot with the families and friends of the fallen. We've just left a pub, with the Dr. Dees, whose son also passed away with our son. So we've got that connection with them all and everybody.
I suppose, it's that military family. It never leaves you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ex-service, myself too, Para. And obviously it's always been a big family, within the forces community. Everybody seems to have that bond, and, it's a bond that never leaves you. And obviously when you lose a son or a comrade, it just seems to bring people more closer together, I think, and it's a fitting tribute to come here and to see everybody come together and to pay the respects and and raise a glass in their memories and that.
And of course, you are both MBEs, so you've done some incredible charity work. Just give us a sense and insight into some of the charity work you've done to support others.
Right. So just after Nathan died, it was your idea, wasn't it? We went to the first. The Remembrance Sunday, and we just stood there and we just said, there's nothing here. Yes, we're never going to forget the World War and World War II, but what about all of them conflicts since the Second World War? So we decided with to ask, because we've got quite a lot, the North East got quite a lot of veterans and armed forces. So we had quite a lot of fallen, from Iraq, Afghanistan, but we didn't just want people who's fallen, we just thought of people who's died in accidents or who was served. So we asked to get a group together and we called it Brothers in Arms, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we just thought, it'll take us 5 years to raise this money. Not just Sunderland, not just the North East, up and down the country, we raised I think £1 million.
300,000.
300,000, probably nearly just short of £1 million within the first year. So we got in a lot of businesses involved, and we had the wall erected on the 11th and the 11th 2011, and it names every conflict since the Second World War, which is really good because a lot of schools and educations use that as well, for the children to go and see and represent every Second World War.
Yeah.
And then from then you come up with an idea then of the Veterans Path, which, do you want to talk about the Veterans Path?
So we turned around and thought of this idea of why do we only recognise people that's fallen and not recognise people's service in general, so any service what you've given for your country should be rightly recognised instead of being given a medal or a discharge papers or whatever what you do. If you've done a year or 2 year, 10 year, it doesn't really matter as long as you've served. And we thought, can we not get everybody's service recognised? So we came up with this idea of having a veterans walk path, and it's granite slabs, like a paving slab, and you can get your name, rank and number and your regimental cap badge on from right across all air, sea, land, and do merchant navy as well, and represent all the forces. And people have bought stones from across the country, and other councils have approached us and asked if we would do the same in their area. So we actually do veterans walk pathway stones now in other cities, up and down the country. So we're doing these memorial paths, these stones, and like I say, they're open for anybody to purchase really. So, and like I say, other councils have took it on board, and suddenly I think we've got about 12 or 1300 stones laid down at the minute. It's quite a big path.
Wow.
So it's
fantastic.
I want to go on there. It's www.nationalveteranspath.co.uk.
Thank you so much, Karen and Tom. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing the story of your son Nathan as well, who, of course, along with so many others, we remember today here. Of course, Dawn here, 10,000 people lined up, all marched past the cenotaph, and you heard there so many of them with a personal story, a personal connection, which makes today even more poignant.
What a wonderful, wonderful couple. Jack, thank you so much. That's GB News national reporter Jack Carson there, talking to Carla and Tom, who lost their 19-year-old son, Nathan, in Afghanistan. OK, deep breath. Joining us now from Belfast is GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie.
Yes, Dawn, what a day in Northern Ireland. Remembrance services going on right out through the province. And of course, as I've said earlier on, most of the fighting men that fights for the Crown, not the government, they fight for the Crown, mainly came from the north. You know, cities like Birmingham, Newcastle, Sunderland, as you've just heard, Glasgow, Liverpool and indeed Belfast. And they're working class men who decide to join the British Army. And when politics fail, they are brought in to sort out the problems. And you often wonder why they join the army when they know what lies ahead of them and what could happen to them. And earlier on I was fortunate enough to speak to John Ross, who was in charge of 3 para during the bloodiest battle of the Falklands War, and I asked him why he joined.
Joined up really through playing football with 1 para when they were stationed on the Shankill Road, and it was a hearts and minds thing. And I was impressed with the guys. I'd always wanted to join the army, so when I came at 17 and went down to York Street to the recruiting office, 10.5 stone wringing wet at the time, I asked the guy, a bit embarrassed, that I wanted to join the parachute regiment.
Well, he joined the paras at 17, and at 29 he was the sergeant major in charge of 3 para as they stormed the mountain in the Falklands War, across an open minefield and attacking Argentinians that were well embedded in a defensive position. 23 of the paras were killed, 17 and 18-year-olds amongst them. And further on that interview he talks about bringing them behind rocks to try and keep them alive while medics tried to tend them while they were under fire, and having to not grieve them but go on ahead. And that shows a mark of the forces and what we really owe them. They have gone out to protect Britain's interests, and as I say, when politicians fail, the army is called in, and this today was a real pleasure to be here to make sure that that was done in a very, very nice way indeed, and it has been throughout Northern Ireland.
Doogie, thank you very much indeed. That's GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie. And this show is always about you, but none more so than today. I just want to read a quick message out from Bill. Good afternoon, Bill. Bill says, Dawn, I was born in 1943 near Newcastle on Tyne. My mum and dad lived for a couple of years near to an airport called Acklington, which was an RAF base. My mum once told me that the lights were placed in the surrounding area so that the Germans would bomb where the lights were instead of the airbase. During this time, they had to rush to bomb shelters. It must have been terrifying. And Bill, you mentioning that story, we all have stories of people that were here still, that did amazing things. I mean, in particular, the women and the children that were left behind. I mean, what my own nan endured, I can't even begin to comprehend what she went through. Keep those messages coming in at gbnews.com/your say. OK, now let's have a little change of pace, shall we? Because we have got something to look forward to. It is Christmas and it will be here before we know it. And it's not too early. Come on, it'll be here literally in a few weeks' time. And how would you like to have Christmas on us this year? That's right, £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams. And it's really easy to win it as well. Here's the details.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts, the tree, the trimmings, everything you might need for a fantastic festive day. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 922 guarantee. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now, there is so much more coming up on today's show. You really don't want to miss it. TV presenter Davina McCall reveals she has been diagnosed with breast cancer, but it's been caught early. Now, she's urged others to get checked, and that is why I think this story is so important. It's not that it's Davina McCall. It is the fact that she is talking out and raising awareness about something that is so important, not just to women. Men do get breast cancer as well. In any case, after the break, we'll be joined by health and science editor Lucy Johnson to discuss this really important story. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. I'll see you soon.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company on Remembrance Sunday. OK, another big story we're covering at the moment. I think this is important. It's not because it's a celebrity, right? The story is important, though. Television presenter Davina McCall has revealed she has undergone breast cancer surgery. In a post on social media, the 58-year-old shared how shocked she was to discover a small lump just a year after having a very rare, benign brain tumour removed.
It's been a lot. I was very angry when I found out, but I let go of that, and I feel in a much more positive place now.
Davina is now urging women to check their breasts regularly to ensure any signs are caught early. This is such an important message. I can't hammer it home enough. Joining me now is our health and science editor, Lucy Johnston. Lucy, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. I've just read that every 9 minutes, someone in the UK is told they have breast cancer. That is absolutely staggering. So fair play for Davina McCall for speaking out and raising awareness.
Absolutely. She's brave, and it's a brilliant thing to do. In fact, breast cancer is the most common cancer in the UK, and over a lifetime, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. It's mostly affecting women over 50. As you mentioned before, it does affect a small proportion of men, less than 1%, but still there is a potential risk. The good news is, if caught early, survival is excellent due to improved treatments and new drugs. So 99% of women and men survive for more than 5 years if caught early. And overall, the breast cancer survival rate is about 85%, which is fantastic. It's important to know that you have to check. Women have to learn to check their breasts. So if you notice anything different, dimpling, change in shape, a lump, go and get it checked out. Even though survival rates are much improved, we do have less survival here compared to other countries. So, for example, in America, 90% of women will survive over 10 years if they're with breast cancer. So it is important to get checked out just as soon as you notice any changes whatsoever.
Why is there that difference, Lucy, between, say, us and America, for example?
Well, the UK lags behind generally in cancer survival, 10 to 25 years, they estimate, over a range of cancers. That includes prostate, ovarian, lung, breast, and bowel cancer. And there could be a number of reasons, but I think part of the problem, the NHS is great when you get to the front of the queue, isn't it? But it's actually getting there, getting a doctor's appointment, getting that diagnosis, and even having these target wait times for cancer. When it's cancer doesn't go on holiday and wait till you've got your doctor's appointment. It spreads, and that's the danger. And so it's really important, as soon as you notice any changes, and as Davina McCall has bravely said, just get something checked out, because it could be life-saving.
And Davina is 58, and it is more common in women over 50 because of the hormonal changes we go through with the menopause. But Davina checked herself because she saw a sign on a ladies' loo door, and she thought, well, there's a little lump there, but it's probably nothing, as we all do, but got it checked out, and then and thankfully now had the lumpectomy, I think it's called, isn't it, where you have the small lump removed rather than the entire breast, and will be facing a week of radiotherapy. So, hers has been caught very, very early.
Which is great news. And in fact, even if you don't think you're at risk, I think about up to 10% of cases are linked to genetics. And Angelina Jolie famously had a double mastectomy, didn't she? Because she felt that she was at risk because of her genes. But most cases aren't genetic. About a quarter are lifestyle styles. So drinking too much, not exercising, smoking can be linked to breast cancer. But the rest, I think, are unknown causes. So every woman is potentially at risk. And therefore, it is important to keep checking and to make sure, any changes. Most lumps and bumps are not to worry about. They're mostly trivial and will come and go. But there could be that one that needs to be examined, and that's why it's important to do so.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. As always, that is Health and Science editor Lucy Johnston. And never bury your head in the sand, right, by the way. And boys, I'm talking to you as well. Prostate cancer is incredibly easy to treat, provided you get it early. It doesn't matter what it is, just go and get it checked, OK? It's so, so important, OK? Lecture over. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Plenty more coming up on today's show. But first, let's get the latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong, I think, still.
Certainly is, Dawn, for one last hurrah. A very good afternoon to you. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. The King led the nation in a 2-minute silence during a Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph earlier. The Prince of Wales, Sir Keir Starmer and the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch joined King Charles in laying wreaths at the monument. 3 D-Day veterans were amongst those attending the ceremony. The UK is to provide military support to Belgium to counter suspected Russian drone incursions on its airspace. Flights were disrupted at Brussels and Liège airports on Thursday after unidentified drone sightings, which were also reported at military bases and nuclear facilities. RAF specialists will be deployed following a request from Belgium. The BBC is expected to apologise for the way in which a speech by Donald Trump was edited in an episode of Panorama. Comes after a leaked internal memo said the corporation misled viewers by splicing together separate sections of a speech by the US president in the lead up to the Capitol Hill riots. The government's set to launch an independent review into the growing number of young people who aren't working or studying. It's estimated the number of 16 to 24-year-olds not in education or employment or training, known as NEETs, have reached 940,000, with around a quarter blaming disability or long-term sickness. And almost 1 million people have been evacuated as the Philippines braces for Typhoon Fenghuang. The storm, which will bring sustained winds of around 115 miles per hour, has been upgraded to a super typhoon and is expected to make landfall later. Those are your headlines, and more news with Bethany coming up at 3 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Erin. Now remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're covering today. Obviously, Remembrance. I want your stories about what you're doing, what you're thinking, what your grandparents, your great-grandparents went through, as many of those. But also, we've just been talking about breast cancer. I want to read a very quick message out from Michael that's come in on social media. It says, just watching your piece on breast cancer, my wife never felt a lump, many women don't to be fair, but did have a burning sensation. She went to the doctor and was referred to the Royal Marsden. It was stage 1 cancer, and I'm amazed how early it was found. Any changes in your boobs, lumps or feelings, please check. Well said, Michael, and I hope Mrs. Michael is making a full recovery. Keep those messages coming in at gbnews.com/yoursay and join in that conversation. OK, now up next, this one's going to annoy you. Could British motorists be taxed for driving per mile by the British government in France? We'll be crossing over to France to discuss this frankly bonkers story. All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson and this is GB News at Britain's News Channel. We'll see you very soon.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We have rain slowly pushing eastwards through the day today. There'll be some bright skies either side, some fog as well, but generally the next few days the low pressure is going to become dominant. We'll see outbreaks of rain, stronger winds pushing in from the Atlantic as we move through the week ahead. But here's the rain by lunchtime across western parts of England and Wales, stretching up into northeast England, eastern Scotland. The rain pushing only slowly north and eastward, so not really going anywhere very quickly. Brighter skies either side of this with some sunny spells, quite blustery around some western coasts. The winds coming in from the south, so another mild day for everyone, 12 to 15 Celsius. And then into the evening time, the rain continues to push north and eastwards. There's still the risk of some heavy rain across southern parts of England and Wales, particularly South Wales, where there could be some localised flooding. But brighter skies, drier skies across Northern Ireland into western Scotland with some clear spells here and a few showers, but the rain stretching up into Orkney and Shetland into the evening time. Temperatures just starting to dip into single figures where there is some chillier air across northern parts of Scotland. Further outbreaks of rain pushing north and eastwards as we go through this evening and overnight. Bands coming in from the Atlantic as well. So a fairly unsettled night to come. Some of the rain could be heavy at times, but in between there will be some drier periods, and the winds coming in from the south and still fairly brisk, so temperatures remaining in double figures across much of England and Wales, but dipping into single figures across northwest Scotland. An unsettled start to Monday, bands of showers pushing north and eastwards. Some of this will be heavy at times, some gusty winds, but in between there will be some sunny spells. So it's worth having the raincoat with you as you go through the day today, turning particularly showery across England and Wales into the afternoon. A little cooler, temperatures around 14 Celsius.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, we've been sad, we've been reflectful, we've been thinking about lots of really important things, including the story about breast cancer, which we've just covered, and lots of you are messaging in. Now we're going to get angry, OK? Now we can get angry, because this story is going to really irritate you. Motorists could soon be taxed for driving their electric cars abroad under Chancellor Reeve's pay-per-mile plan. Drivers would still be charged when overseas, because you have to estimate how many miles you're driving according to this new plan. So when you go overseas, like across the Channel into France, you could add £45 for a round trip, driving across the Channel down to Nice, for example. The move means that British motorists could face a double cost, the UK mileage levy on top of France's motorway tolls, which by my reckoning means it's probably cheaper to fly and destroy that environment we all care so much about, evidently. Deputy editor of a French conservative magazine, Curseur, Jeremy Stubbs, joins me now. Jeremy, I can't make this story make sense. Can you?
No, it just seems crazy. The Daily Telegraph calculated the cost of the return trip from Calais to Nice, originally made fashionable by Queen Victoria, no less, as £45.90, and my calculation is exactly the same. However, you've got to pay that on top of what you pay for the upkeep of French motorways if you take the motorway, which is the best way to travel. And that round trip would be, by my calculation, £220. So you're being clobbered both by taxes in France and the long arm of the Chancellor reaching across from Britain. It does seem unfair.
It does seem. I mean, it's not set in stone yet. We don't know, like a lot of the budget suggestions. It's sort of like running things up the flagpole, see what reaction she gets. Spoiler alert, Rachel's not a good one. So it's like, but if you're driving an electric car, you are potentially going to have to estimate how many miles you're driving a year, for which case you would be charged 3p per mile. But if many people do, like drive across the Channel and drive into France, that would still count. I mean, but as you say, you've just worked out, you've just done the maths on it, so potentially £45, £46. I can get a budget flight for cheaper than that.
Well, the other aspect is that we're supposed to be encouraging people to buy these electric vehicles and save the environment, and there you are, making life even more complicated by them. So this is rather typical of this government. We get mixed signals. On the one hand, yes, go ahead and respect the environment. On the other hand, it'll cost you a lot more, so don't. There are similar kinds of problems here in France, but they're not yet talking about a tax. This one would come into operation in 2028. The French state at the moment can't think that far ahead in terms of tax because of the problems, but one can see the craziness. I do understand, though, that in Switzerland they're thinking of a similar tax to Rachel Reeves. Presumably, once the Swiss learn that they're having the same idea as Rachel Reeves, they'll backtrack on it.
Right, yeah, well, that does make sense. Now, other countries do this already, let's be clear. Iceland and New Zealand. Now, I did get geography A level, but I'm not that great at geography today. But those two places are quite isolated. Not many people tend to drive across borders from Iceland or New Zealand, do they? This is the problem with any European country introducing it, certainly the UK, just hop across the channel.
Absolutely. And the current government says that we want to get close to our European friends, but this is exactly the opposite as a message. So how they came up with this idea, I'm not quite sure. But as you say, it's not set in stone. They may rethink this. There is time in which to do so. It is true that motorists who use petrol and diesel, that costs an awful lot more than the electric. And one day, governments will want to recoup the taxes that they've lost on petrol. So we know there's something going to be coming. But to do it in this way just seems madness.
It doesn't. And, the delicious irony of all of this, Jeremy, is at the moment we've got COP30 going off down in Brazil, haven't we? And the great and the good from the UK, I think it's about a 12,000-mile round trip. How's your carbon footprint going there? That's all going. I mean, obviously our Prime Minister was down there, took a delegation down there. It's just like just make it stop. It's utter madness.
Yes, there are contradictions everywhere. The European Union has decreed that there will be only electric vehicles by 2035. Now, car manufacturers in Europe have great difficulty meeting that. So in other words, they're handing the car industry to the Chinese, who are dominating the electric vehicle market. At the same time, in France, electric vehicles they've sort of plateaued off between 15 and 18%. They can't sell more. And what dominates the second-hand market? Second-hand diesel cars, of which I myself drive one.
And I can't blame you, destroying the planet, how dare you. Jeremy, thank you very much. Always good to talk to you. That's Deputy Editor of a French Conservative magazine, of course, Jeremy Stubbs there. Thank you very much. Let us know what you think about that one. I can hazard a guess it's not going to be great. gbnews.com/your say. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. As World War II slips out of living memory, how do we keep remembrance alive and make Britain a country the young want to fight for? Former soldier Bob Seeley will be joining me after the break. But now, if you are in search of some holiday sun, even considering, I don't know, driving to France, for example, here's a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Not much sunshine across the central and eastern Mediterranean. Heavy showers and thunderstorms expected here. But elsewhere across northern Europe, mostly dry, settled with some sunshine. Though we are expecting some showers on Monday across parts of Portugal, also northern areas of France. These could turn heavy at times. And as we drift our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, turning more and more unsettled, some heavy showers and thunderstorms here. Into next week, we should see more sunshine. And alongside the sun, there should be some warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello and welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company on such an important Sunday. I really appreciate it. Lots of you have been getting in touch about, obviously, Remembrance Sunday and also the story about breast cancer we're talking about. Just want to read this one out from Lisa. Good afternoon, Lisa. She says, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1997 when I was 48 years old, had quick surgery, then radiotherapy, then chemo. I'm still here to tell the tale. Well done and best wishes to Davina and all the women who, as you say, need to stay aware and informed. And Lisa, you've just done your bit to do that, so thank you so much for getting in touch as well. And Jay has written in about, messaged in about Remembrance. Honoured to pay my respects at the Walton Parade and Remembrance service today alongside a 99-year-old local World War II veteran. Last year it was cancelled due to insurance problems, evidently, and this year I'm pleased that it went ahead. It's great. So keep them coming in, gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, we are going to go back to talking about Remembrance Day, because what I wanted to try and do was, as well as remembering what's happened in the past and those that have given so much, not just the people that fought, but also people that left behind. We talked about that amazing charity that looked after children who have lost their parents in conflict, but also what it all means going forward. We are obviously now losing the last living links, literally living history, to those who fought in the Second World War, 80 years ago, remember. And, you know, if ever there was a time to talk to those people and get it in their words what it was like, then it's now, before we lose them all completely. It's the living history of what they did, what they went through. I mean, just talking to my own granddad, who, like many people his generation, literally had to be forced to talk about it. And the only time I ever saw him cry was walking around the Imperial War Museum, and when he remembered what he did in France, and it was just incredibly moving. Now, with fewer veterans able to share their experiences firsthand, how can we keep the lessons of service and sacrifice and duty and patriotism alive for the future? I'm joined now by former soldier Bob Seeley. Bob, it's a very, very simple question. We have still, thank God, living history. We can still talk to these men and women about what it was like. How do we carry their message forward?
Hi, Dawn, and I hope your listeners and viewers are having a good Remembrance Sunday. Look, I think we can do a bunch of things. One is we can stop with the self-hatred of this country. You know, this country isn't Russia. We don't want to just throw ugly propaganda at young people, and we want people to think for themselves. It's absolutely and always been part of our culture. But when children are brought up to think that we're the source of all evil in the world, or that the empire was about slavery, not its abolition, or that, you know, the indigenous population are inherently racist, I just think the sort of woke diversity agenda is really damaging to national coherence. And it also stops a much more truer and more honest story being told. Patriotism, Dawn, is a very natural instinct. And it's your love of country, it's a love of place where you brought up. It's not propaganda. And I just think we need to encourage a little bit of intelligent, decent patriotism so that we can see the world and be proud of our place in the world, not to question elements of the past, but to be broadly proud of our extraordinary achievements of our country and our civilization, and actually be willing to state what it is and to defend it. And I just think we haven't done that enough. Our political classes haven't done that enough in the past 20 to 30 years.
Bob, I don't know why we've lost our way so much with this. I mean, only 10% of 18 to 28-year-olds at the moment say they would fight for their country. Can you imagine if that had been the case in World War I and World War II and many of the more recent conflicts?
Well, to be honest, in World War II, back in the 1930s, I don't even remember, there was a very famous Oxford Union debate saying that the Oxford Union would refuse to fight for king and country. And, you know, that passed back in, I think it was 1933 and 1934. And by 1939, we were having to fight for king and country and then empire. For the simple reason that we had disarmed ourselves so much that when a dictator appeared and threatened us, we had no choice. And sadly, we are not in a dissimilar position in Eastern Europe. You go to a place like Poland, and there are some people in Poland who assume, and I'm not talking about people necessarily on the street, but people in the military and politics who think that they may well be at war with Russia in the next few years. Likewise, people in the Baltic Republic. So, you know, it is a really urgent conversation, because if our NATO allies are going to be in conflict, there's a very good chance that we will be as well.
Isn't that saying, Bob, the best way to keep peace is to prepare for war?
Yes, a really good point, Dawn. And it pains me as someone who writes about this. I have a book out called The New Total War, which looks at Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but also the sort of template of war that we're going to be looking at this century, when some conflict is going to be military, some conflict will be informational or economic or political. But we are in a new era of conflict with authoritarian powers. The problem is, we're just not ready for that, because our political and military elites haven't educated our population as to the sort of warfare we're going to be facing. There is a chance that we will face real, old-fashioned traditional war in Eastern Europe, but there's also the war of values, and people try to find divisions and disunity in our society as well. And there are things that we could be doing. We're not doing them, sadly.
Bob, thank you very much for joining us. Always words of wisdom. That's former soldier Bob Seeley there. I've been Dawn Neeson. This has been GB News. Thank you all so much for your company. It's been wonderful chatting to you all, but please don't go anywhere, because Nana is up next, and she's always got a cracking show. Nana, what have you got for us today?
Wonderful. Thank you, Dawn. Yes, loads to talk about. First of all, Calamity Lammy. What on earth is he up to? Is it time for him to go? There are so many prisoners who seem to have somehow gone missing. What on earth is happening? Rachel Reeves, she's planning to potentially raise income tax, although it was a manifesto promise that they wouldn't. And doesn't sound great, does it, at all? What are you thinking? And, of course, the BBC. Boris Johnson's written a piece in the Mail on Sunday, and he said that journalists should step outside Tim Davies' house and ask him a load of questions. Stay tuned after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. The next few days, it remains fairly unsettled. We'll see bands of rain pushing north and eastward. Some of this rain could be heavy at times and lead to some local flooding in places. Low pressure really dominating our weather pattern at the moment, but the wind's coming in from the south, so a mild direction for the time of year. A Met Office rain warning across southern parts of Wales for the next few hours as bands of heavy rain push north and eastwards. As we head overnight, further showers and longer spells of rain for many, but in between there will be some clearer spells developing. Northwest Scotland largely staying dry, some drier spells across England and Wales later. But the winds coming in from the south, largely double figures across much of the country, though 3 or 4 degrees for the Glens of Scotland where skies are clearest. So Monday morning, a mixed picture, a chilly start across the Highlands in particular, some sunny spells here, a few fog patches, but much wetter across Aberdeenshire down towards Edinburgh, outbreaks of heavy rain in places, showery rain across Northern Ireland too, southern Scotland, but some brighter skies for Northern England, North Wales, but showers around, and then a mixture of cloud and showery rain across the rest of England and Wales first thing on Monday morning. Some of the rain already heavy from the word go, and then through the day we'll see bands of showers, longer spells of rain pushing north and eastwards across many parts of the country. So a brolly will be needed, but in between there will be some sunny spells and still staying fairly blustery, particularly around some of the coast and over the hills. Some places may manage to stay dry all day, but most of us seeing some rain, and temperatures just a few degrees down on Monday, highs around 12 to 14 Celsius towards the south. Into the evening time, those bands of rain continue to push north and eastward, showers following on behind, remaining fairly breezy as well. And for the next few days, it remains unsettled. There'll be showers, longer spells of rain, but generally staying on the mild side, particularly across England and Wales.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or